This episode is brought to you by Absolute Landscapes. Absolute Landscapes is a landscape maintenance company that focuses heavily on commercial property maintenance. Call today for information about the services we provide and how we can best help you. 803-427-5944.
But I don't know. It's like for some reason, it seems like late mornings are a good time to record because of the natural lighting. Sometimes I have to do like late at night, and I have a light system set up for that. I guess it's just the time of year. I don't know, but I was having a light issue earlier with this thing, so hopefully it'll work out. It'll work out for me. But yeah, man, I'm thrilled to have you on here. Thrilled to talk to you. We'll see what we can get into. I want to say too, I probably didn't say this. I just want to apologize beforehand. I'm doing this with a cold, so I don't know if my voice sounds off or if
you sound all right so far.
Mute the mic every once in a while to cough or something. Maybe we'll be all right. But yeah, man. So how long have you been in business, like for yourself?
Well, I've had a business of some sort probably the last 25 years.
Oh, okay.
However, with the new JDog and all that, we opened up in May timeframe of this year, franchised out to kind of subsidize with I have another contracting business where we do painting, commercial painting.
Okay.
And like parking lot marking and, all that kind of safety poles, that kind of stuff for some of the larger truck stops in the U.S.
Okay.
So
you got a couple different things going on then.
I always have something going on. My wife says.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, though. I mean,
I agree. I think it keeps us busy, keeps us going instead of sitting around doing nothing. I mean,
yeah,
and it keeps other people employed and keeps people working, giving other people opportunities. So
that's it. Was that about the time you got out of the Army? About 25 years or so.
I got out in the end of '98, so that's about 24 years now. 20.
Yeah, something like that.
24, almost 25 years. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I did that. I'm also a government contractor, so I got a couple of things I'm working on, trying to get to where a couple of my, everybody say side hustles, but now they're permanent jobs employing people.
Yeah.
At some point can replace the government job so I can do that, my sole focus all the time.
I got you.
So,
yeah, that takes a lot of time, man. I just, when people have multiple businesses like that, it's just like that's a lot. That's a lot, know. And I would imagine you have to have the right team,
that's key to everything.
Yeah.
The right people.
Yep.
So I've got a young lady that runs I call it Nugent Contracting is the name of the business, but our painting business. And she's been with me for about 3 years now. And it's just been a blessing. It's just, she's handling 90% of the day-to-day of everything. So I'm kind of not having to focus on that as much, and that's one I've had for about 20 years. So just taking that pressure away, letting her kind of do most of that has been a big relief while I started up the JDog and the junk removal and carpet stuff, so I can get that rolling. And I've got a great ops guy running JDog. He came from a 1-800 junk company up in Minnesota.
Okay.
So he's got the experience running it, so he's the ops manager. So I just kind of keep my eyes and make sure that, process procedures and rolling out administrative type stuff keeps them going and, building the network of people that want us to come do work for them.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's not too direct of a question to ask, I would like to ask, starting the JDog thing, the junk removal, did you just kind of see like with these other businesses you had that maybe you needed that service and you just kind of started it yourself? Is that what the thought process was with that?
No, to be honest with you, I'd always wanted to go in and do something myself outside of the other painting business. The painting business was something that just kind of happened. I've just never been able to let go of. This kind of grown legs and ran with it, but it's not my passion at all.
Mm-hmm.
So the JDog, being that it's veteran, you have to be a veteran or a family member to own one to buy in. They support a lot of veteran activities, a lot of trying to reduce unemployment, a lot of trying to bring awareness to veteran suicide, those kind of things. So it kind of piqued my interest of saying, okay, I'm always looking for something for residual income that can be the long-term plan. So when me and the wife are hopefully out riding around an RV in 10 or 15 years, we got something that's making us some money, but also making a difference in the community. So we started looking, and to be honest with you, I've seen them on the news channel. I see them in the local news. I see them in some of the VA magazines I get, some of the websites, DAV, different places, and just started seeing them more and more often. So we were out actually in Mississippi at a football game, and they were on Fox News. And I told my wife, I said, I've seen them so many times, I at least got to call them, see what's all about. Because I like dealing with people. I like that kind of stuff, making a difference, helping people. So we flew out to their headquarters in Philadelphia, and my wife went with me to try to tell me why we shouldn't do it. And before we got home, she goes, you got to do this. So it was one of those things that it's like, okay, if we're going to do it, let's do it. So we signed the paperwork 30, 40 days after we did it all, and now we're trying to make it all happen. So
I got you.
The veteran part of it, the military and what they do, is probably what drawn my attention to this type of business. Cause we called other ones, and their motto and the simplicity of being a local owner is, hey, you got to wear the JDog clothes, you got to wrap your trucks, and then you got to have respect, integrity, and trust. Other than that, you run your business as a local business. We're not going to tell you what you can and can't do. And I wanted something that would let me be part of the community and find a way to embed ourselves in the community by helping out, which a lot of things don't allow you to do that when you're franchised because all the different rules and regulations and restrictions. This allows us to be a local company with a headquarters that supports us to be successful.
I got you. Yeah, the reason I was asking, because you see a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, they'll have like a business that's almost sort of complementary to the other. Like if it's, I would imagine JDog probably comes in handy with the other stuff that you're doing, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I saw kind of a connection there.
And that's why we just added the carpet cleaning. JDog has two main things they do. They do the junk removal and hauling, and then they do carpet cleaning and floor care. Okay. Well, when I started moving stuff, people were, hey, someone can clean carpet? Hey, someone can get the floor ready? We're fixing to sell. And I'm like, as they started franchising and we started getting some stuff like Fort Jackson, I'm like, yeah, I'd hate for someone else to come in here and start the carpet franchise and me have to sit back and watch them enjoying it. So I went ahead and bought into one of the carpet franchises so I could offer that service. Okay. So I own all three JDog junk haul removal territories in the Columbia Midlands area, but I've only bought into one territory for the carpet at this time. Okay. So, that was not the original plan. So the wife, I had to buy her into one. I was like, okay, let me not do another two on top of that. So. Yeah. And I got to start bringing some of that money back in to help cover the expenses.
That's right. Yeah. Man, that's a lot going on right there.
Yeah. It's a lot more than I probably anticipated to begin with. So
have you always had like that entrepreneurial spirit or that mentality of, I mean, I guess you've been doing it for, you said 20, 25 years. Where do you think that came? Is that just something you always had, or did something spark that, or?
I mean, if we talk about a topic like this, yeah, I think from a young age, growing up, with lack of a better word, just poor. Mm-hmm. If you had a chance to sell something, make a few dollars, to buy the next item you needed that was a need, not a want, then I've always found a way to try to do that. I mean, I remember, my older brother giving me concert T-shirts and going to school and a buddy saying, man, I love that shirt. I'll give you $5 for it. I'll take it off, sell it to him. Yeah. So it was stuff like that. My wife, she's learning to understand it better, but we bought a trailer 4 or 5 years ago, just a little utility trailer one day because we sold a bed set and I didn't want to rent one. So we bought it used, took the bed set we sold to the people, delivered it, charged them $50, delivered it to them, and I turned around and sold the trailer for $200 more than I paid for it. So while it frustrates her, she's like, I can't argue with it. It kind of works. So, right. I was the one in school that sold the blow pops. Hey, I'd pay 10 cents and sell them for a quarter. Anything to make a dime here and there to start building it up. So, yeah, but it's that hard thing to put all your eggs in and say, okay, I'm going 100% in. Oh yeah. I'm not going to have that security blanket, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I still got the security blanket, but I'm building enough now that hopefully I can jerk that away and at some point and just run with all this. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that stops a lot of people is that the fear of that risk,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you could put everything that you have into it and you're not guaranteed to win, mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily a business. That's pretty much anything that requires risk.
Absolutely.
And you have to, like, it's almost like when you do things like that, whether it's a business or a college degree or fitness or whatever, you almost have to have trust in the society that you have, that everything's going to stay stable. Because if you have like a 10-year plan for something and the world is completely different in 10 years, it's like, does the plan even really matter? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that, and so I think the risk is a thing that keeps a lot of people sort of, I don't want to say paralyzed by the fear, but it's almost like they are, because they don't want to
It holds
progress.
you back a little bit. It keeps you a little reserved, saying, okay, I'm 80% knowing this is going to be able to support me, but that little 20% tells you maybe it won't. Makes you delay it or take another step, or, okay, well, instead of doing this for 2 years, I'm going to do it 3 before I pull the trigger. Stuff like that. I definitely seen that, because, me and my wife are talking, say, okay, we had a 2-year plan. Now we're like, okay, because of COVID and all the other stuff, well, now you got a 3-year plan. Now it's like, well, maybe this will run itself and we can just do what we're doing and make it a 4-year plan. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. We've got to set some boundaries, and we've got to make sure that we're ready. Because if not, we're just wasting all this time for no reason. Yeah.
But the good thing, though, about I think people like you and trying to like what you're trying to do is people either they find a way or they make a way.
Absolutely.
And I think it's that experience itself. I was just talking to a guy about this. I mean, even if God forbid, but let's just say none of these things work out, you having that experience and learning the things that you have, that in itself is of value.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's I know for me, one of the big problems I had with early business was that fear of it was almost like a fear of rejection. What if I try to go out and get these jobs and
they tell me no?
They tell me no, or if I get the job and then if I don't deliver to the expectations, then that's a whole nother set of problems.
But I found a person like yourself, me, when you're out there doing something for yourself and you're actually out there on the job and you're doing it, your expectations 99% of the time are higher than the customer's expectations.
Yeah.
So you've already exceeded what they want. It's just you want it perfect, because you want them. It's not even that you want them to refer you to someone else, which is the ultimate compliment. You want them to say, hey, I love the job you did. And once they say, hey, I love what you did for me, I got someone called me yesterday, said, hey, I'm moving back onto Fort Jackson. I can't afford a whole lot, but I got to get my carpet cleaned for my lease because I got to get my money back for my apartment. Can you come out here on New Year's Eve and do it for us? I'm like, absolutely. They're like, oh my goodness. Now, it's not going to cost a lot of money. Now, my guy's got to go spend New Year's Eve for a few hours doing it. But these people are when they say it's I know it's just the words, but it's like, man, you're a lifesaver. And I'm not saving their life, but if they get that $1,200 or $800 deposit back, it may be saving, their livelihood for a month or so. So it's things like that makes me, if I ever get down, I think of those people doing that, hey, we've done something that's actually made a difference, not just went and earned some money.
Mm-hmm.
So
the reason I was asking, the thing I was asking about earlier about the mentality, I've had a couple veterans this work with me. I don't really like to say work for me, because I don't feel like that's a appropriate. It's not an accurate description. I like to say work with me. So I've had a couple veterans that's worked with me. And I will say, man, that they have been some of the hardest working people I've ever met. Now I've had some people that's not veterans who's also extremely hard workers, but
absolutely.
I'm curious, man, what is it? I mean, do you think it's something from the military itself, or just the kind of people that go to the military that's that hardworking person? I mean, I'm sure there's people who are in the military that get out and they're not so hard of workers.
Right.
But it seems like for the most part, these people are extremely hard workers.
Well, I think, first of all, it takes a different personality that decides to join the military. Everybody comes from different circumstances, whether it's poverty, I just don't want to do college, I want to learn a trade, whatever it is. There's different reasons why they go into the military. Patriotism, whatever it is. And I think they go in that mentality is, this is going to break me down and rebuild me, so I got to pay attention. So when you go in there and someone says, okay, everything we do is based on a mission. It's not based on a time clock. It's not based on, when the sun goes down. It's based on a mission. When you go in and say, okay, we've got to do this, depending on what your job is. Now, I was a comms guy, so we got to go to the front line, set up communications so everybody else can come forward and talk. Okay, great. Infantry people, we got to go take the hill, for example, whatever. Well, with that mentality, when you get out and someone gives you work, you're not going there and saying, how much money can I make? You're going to say, how long does it take me to get this mission done? Because then I got to go to the next mission. And if I do this mission great, they're going to promote me. They're going to give me the next mission. They're going to keep calling me because they want someone that completes the mission and does it in a professional, courteous, and timely manner. So that's, I think, getting out of the military, no matter what I've ever done, okay, this is my next mission. Whether it's doing my resumes or getting 10 interviews, whatever that is, that's a mission. And you never feel like you're complete until you've completed that mission.
Yeah.
So I think that's what life, okay, you got to go set up and do some hardscapes around a pool. Okay, the mission is to get all the hardscape around the pool today, make it look good, and let the customers use the pool by this weekend. That's your mission. So if it means I got to work an extra hour, then I work an extra hour to get all those rocks in place and everything down so they can come out and enjoy it. And then the reward for the mission is pay.
Yeah.
So, and then that good feeling. So I think that's a lot of the military mentality when they come out. Not everybody, because I mean, you got duds anywhere you go, but I think a lot of people just look at everything as a mission focus, camaraderie with your, especially if you get a bunch of veterans together working together, not just one or two. Now all of a sudden everybody's got the mission together. They all got a camaraderie together. They're probably going to talk to people the way you wouldn't like other people talking to each other, but that's just kind of what they do. But I think you see that someone will naturally excel to the top, like the commander starts saying, okay, let's do this, and everybody else be like, they're used to that. They fall in line. That's why if you've worked with people, and unfortunately, if you're paying them, they work for you at times, and you tell them, oh, he's the one in charge. He's the one doing this. So, hey, we take orders, we move out, draw fire, and keep on going. So that's kind of how I look at that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man, because I remember, now that I think about it, I remember back on these jobs when these people would work, it was almost like they were on a mission, like there was a common goal. There was a common goal that the team shared, and it's like that was the mission that they were trying to make happen. And I will say too, and I know that you know this being in the trades, like the trade world in general, like let's say somebody who's not a veteran, just a general employee in trade world, it's not really, they don't really respect people who don't carry their load of the work.
Absolutely.
But I do notice with those veterans that I had employed, it was like they were on a different level of that. So where the average person, might not respect somebody who didn't carry their share of the weight, it was like the veteran did that more. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
that makes sense, because I guess if you're trained in a position where it's absolutely critical for somebody to carry their weight and their workload, it makes sense.
Well, I've always looked at, think about lumberjacks, for example. I know it's kind of crazy, but their goal is to cut down trees.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. So if you go hire a guy to cut down trees, he's either charging you by the tree or charging you for the wood, depending on how he's doing it. And if he says, okay, I need to cut down 20 trees, well, if he's got 5 people, they may say, okay, that's 4 trees each. So once one person cuts down their 4 trees, they sit around and wait for everybody else. Well, if you get a bunch of veterans out there, the mission is we all have to cut down 20 trees.
Right.
So it don't matter if I'm cutting down 3 or 12, we have to cut them all down. And when you're working that hard, no one's going to sit back and watch someone else finish it. They're all going to do it together. Where, unfortunately, if I pay someone to go paint a gas station and I pay someone next door to pay someone else, they're going to say, hey, I've done mine. I'm just going to wait on you. They don't think with the mentality, well, I'm going to come over there and help you finish yours so we can get out of here. The mission's completed, because unless they're veterans. Veterans like, hey, you're paying us for a mission. Let's complete that. So I always use that tree analogy. They're going to go in the woods. They're going to clear the field. They're going to clear it out. They don't care whether it's, everybody's got their fair share. They're all in this together because they know everybody's skill level may be a little different, and they share off each other. Where general trade people, hey, I've done my 8 hours, time to go home, we'll finish tomorrow. Or, hey, I've done my 3 trees, I'll see y'all at lunch when y'all done y'all's 3. Well, that's not camaraderie. That's not working together. That's just trying to draw a paycheck, and there is a difference.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is, well, I guess 2 things. It's crazy that the veteran takes that lesson, like from the military, however long they were in, whether it's 4 or 8 or whatever, but it's like they take that with them the rest of their life, and they take that philosophy and apply it to all these different things. And another thing is too, like, let's just be honest here. I won't say most, a lot of employees like do just enough to not get fired. Like they'll just do what's expected of them, and they won't go above and beyond. But when you have
the union mentality,
yeah, well, yeah. But when you have a person that goes above and beyond, man, especially when it's for the benefit of the group, I think that's something that's just worthy of notice.
Absolutely.
And 2, you mentioned something about this: a person who's able to take lead and take charge. Like, let's say if you or I are not on a job and something happens, something needs to be done, like a person who can take charge in that situation, take the initiative to lead, even though they may not make the best decision, but at that time, at that moment, something's got to be done. And I would imagine that's another part of that mentality from veterans. That I guess maybe that's just how you're trained.
Absolutely.
When you're in the military.
And what's funny, when you're in the military, I mean, everybody in the civilian sector, everybody talks about, rank, this person outranks this person, which is true. It does, and they're in charge. However, people don't realize that you may be 2 or 3 ranks lower than someone and still be in charge of them when it comes to, are you in charge of where you put the latrines? Are you in charge of the kitchen? Are you in charge of commo? Are you in charge of handing out weapons, tracking ammo? So you learn that, okay, you outrank me, but I also learn how to manage people. Like in the corporate world, I manage above me at times. And just like they manage below them and above them, that's kind of how you're kind of frozen. Is that a bad thing?
Hang on a second. I think I lost you here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You froze for a second.
Yeah, you froze on my end too.
Oh.
That I don't know if you can see that on the side of the screen where it says 98% uploaded. It says 99.
Yeah, mine says 99. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to make sure that stays as high as possible because that's a good indication that you have a good internet connection. So if it says 99%, that means your internet's pretty good.
Yeah, it's saying 99 right now.
So the last thing I heard about that was I'm trying to remember what you said before you cut out.
Talking about the ranks above and below.
Yeah, you said something about in the corporate. In the
corporate structure, I manage above me sometimes to my leadership, just like they manage above to their leadership, because you got to prepare them for what they're getting ready to go do. And I think in the trades, when you got people from the military, they know, hey, you may be the foreman, but I know what's going on. Let me help you out. And they're used to that, where they may go to a captain or a colonel and say, hey, sir, this is what you got to do today. Where a lot of people coming out doing a trade, hey, my job's just do this little thing. If you're going to go screw yours up, I'm not going to watch you. You go do what you got to do. Where when you bring those veterans in and they're doing it, they're saying, okay, I don't have a problem going talking to the foreman. I don't have a problem talking to the supervisor. I don't have a problem talking to the boss. Where I've noticed on some of my jobs, I bring people out there, well, you hired me to do this. That's all I'm doing. And the veterans are out there saying, okay, you hired me to do this, but I noticed they're not doing it right, so I went and told them to do it right. Even though they're in charge, I've told them they're doing it wrong. And I think that brings that in there where those veterans know how to manage up and down and across at times to get those jobs done.
Well, see, me, and I guess this is just the civilian and me speaking about this, but I would see it as like when you're in the military, like you said, you have these ranks, there's a hierarchy. It's almost like you're not allowed to say or question what maybe your superiors would order you to do. But I from what I hear you say is like if you are an enlisted guy or whatever, and you see that something's not being done right, if you speak up, then that's, I guess maybe that's respected.
Well, some of it is first of all, anything you're in order to do has to be a lawful order. You never have to follow an order that's not lawful. Like they tell you to go jump off a bridge. No, I'm not going to go jump off a bridge because that's unlawful.
Right.
If someone directs you, say you're going to go do this, and you're like, okay, I'll go do it. But however, I want to let you know by me doing that what the repercussions of those are. Like simple stuff like I was field sanitation certified. Here I'm at E3. My job when we went on to any kind of field size was to say, hey, here's where the kitchen will be. Here's where the KP will, the latrines will be. Here's where the wash points will be. Well, almost everybody out there outranked me. But since I was a certified guy, it was extra duty. They either listened to me. Now, they could tell me, no, we don't want it there. We want it somewhere else. And I would just make note and let them know why. But they kind of had to listen to me of where we put stuff. So they would have to arrange other stuff around that because of sanitization, health, hygiene, stuff like that. So it's one of those things where none of them worked for me, but they all had to listen to me when it came to that specialty. So you're kind of managing up to let them know. You're in there with a full bird colonel telling them this is what you need to do. And they're like, hey, you're the one that got that skill. You do it. Cool. Yeah. And I think a lot of time people get nervous trying to do that in civilian. They don't understand that, hey, people are just going to tell you what they think. Give them information. Let them know why. And if they take the information, they still want you to do it. Hey, you're in charge. It's not unlawful. I'll do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you know who Jocko Willink is.
Yes. Why do I know that name?
He was a Navy SEAL. He's got a podcast now. He talks a lot. Apparently, he was really open with his guys about having feedback if they didn't agree with something that he was trying to get them to do or whatever. He was very open to that. And it just seems like when you're in a leadership role like that, even in the military, something as rigid and structured as the military, it seems like that's a positive thing to have that feedback. And like I'll say too, just speaking like from the business world, I value when a person comes to me and says, like when there's a problem or something's not being done right, because as the leader or as the business owner or whoever, that's valuable feedback, whether it's an employee or a customer or whoever. I mean, you need that feedback to grow.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, man, what happens is our ego gets hurt. If somebody comes to us and says, well, you've been doing this 5, 10, 15 years, but I think there's a better way to do it. That might hurt your ego a little bit, but that could be the biggest change. If you're able to have that open mind, that could be the best change that you've ever made. And
I think the best thing in any organization, whether small business like one of ours or a big corporation, is the openness to communication. Yep. Everybody says they want it, but I don't know the percentages. There's a huge percentage that don't want to listen to it. But if you can truly sit down and listen to someone communicate with you with feedback, one thing, they may be totally off board and you may not implement anything, but one, you've told them they've heard. You may be able to get the opportunity to explain to them why, hey, I appreciate what you're telling me. However, have you looked at it from this standpoint? This is why we do it this way. So it might enlighten them so they start thinking more like whoever's in charge and looking for those things to make improvements. Mm-hmm. Or you may say, man, you just saved me $100 an hour on every job I do now. I appreciate it.
Yep.
But people are afraid to listen, which the first time you don't listen, the next time they got something, they're just going to keep moving and not tell you. I got a perfect example. When I got out of the military, I went to work for AT&T. Loved it. Did it for 7 years. Thought it was great. Ran the big switches, class 5 switches, for the T1 and above for all the commercial side. And we had this guy. He's troubleshooting a problem all day long. Had all the manuals out, doing everything. And when it came shift change after about a 10-hour shift, he finally handed it off to someone else. Said, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's everything I've done. Well, the guy that took over within 2 hours resolved the issue because he took off from that starting point and kept going forward. Well, the next day they got the guy that spent 10, 12 hours saying, hey, this guy comes in, he solves it in 2 hours, and just lit him up. Well, what do you think happened next time? Next time guy got a major problem. He's going through everything, got to his end of his shift, time to go, he closed the book and left. And the other guy had to start over. He goes, wait a second, you're going to give them all the glory and you're going to take it from me. It was just lack of communication that no one went and said, hey, I've spent all day doing this. This guy was able to resolve it in 2 hours where he left off. And now you're coming dogging me out because I set up all the basic stuff to get him to where he can find the issue. Mm-hmm. So you're rewarding him and disparaging me. So, hey, next time I'm just closing the book and you do it yourself. Now, I don't encourage people to do that, but that communication and that leadership, it leads to stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that I've always said that communication is critical, man. The way you communicate with people and how you communicate with people, the communication or lack thereof is probably the biggest thing. If you're doing anything that involves other people, you have to be able to communicate with them. You mentioned something earlier about people, explaining to them why we do things a certain way. One thing I've learned and one thing I've noticed is that if you know the way you're doing a thing is the right way or the best way to do it, people are much more willing to listen to you if they know that there's a reason why you do the thing that you do.
Absolutely.
Like if you're the kind of person who just kind of gives orders and just kind of tells people what to do, that's kind of one thing. But if you tell them there's a reason that we can't do this way or that we do this way, they're much more likely to listen to you.
Absolutely. And if you do that, if you communicate with your guys like that, when you come and say, hey, I don't have time to explain, I just need it this way, they're more likely to go do that because they know, hey, he's got a reason to do it. He usually explains it to us. He may not have time right now, but I know he's got a good thought process. Let's go ahead and get it done, and maybe when we have a break, we can figure out why we had to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because you build that respect. But to me, the thing is, every class I've ever been to about communication is this, but what they got to really hone in on is communication. The best part of communication is listening.
Exactly. Yep.
What are they saying? And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They just don't listen. They say, oh, I'm communicating great. I'm telling them everything. Okay, but what are they telling you? What are you hearing?
Right. Exactly.
So
most people listen to respond and not listen to understand.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, man. You talk about these big companies and stuff. I feel like in a big company, it's much more difficult to be heard and understood. And I guess because there's so many different people involved. If you're an entry level guy and there's a huge company, if you have a problem, it has to go through 4, 5, 6 different people before it gets to the person who can actually make the change.
Right.
And so I don't know. But I agree that the communication is, and anybody who I've ever known that's been in the military, like I said, whether it's 2, 4, 6, 8 years, whatever it is, they're big communicators. And I think, I guess maybe that's something that's instilled in the military too. If people learn that in the military, I don't know. I would imagine it has to be.
Think about it in the military. Go back to the mission. Hey, we want you to go to, like when we're deployed to Bosnia, you're going to go to Hilltop 722 and set up communications. Well, if you're not listening, you may be on Hilltop 772,
right.
Wrong location. You go in the wrong place. You're setting up, and now all of a sudden the mission's not going to happen. You're totally foobarred. So now you got to start over, and you got to figure it all out. And somebody's going to get fired, which means you're going to be demoted and get a job you don't want. But so those are where they'll communicate. You got to understand the particulars, because when you're in the military, it could affect someone's life.
Exactly.
Or multiple people's lives. So you got to pay attention. You got to communicate. If you see something, you don't say, "Oh, that's nothing, I'll report it later." No, "Hey, Sarge, I saw this. Not sure what it is, but somebody, you want to check this out. This is what I saw. Here's how I seen it." So they check it out, so you know that you're paying attention to everything. So
yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad to hear that kind of feedback is welcomed in the military, because as a civilian, you watch movies and you hear stories and stuff. You kind of have, sometimes you have a different mindset about that, about what maybe kind of what it is. And I don't mean where people just don't want to listen to what they're being told to do. I mean where there's actually positive feedback, where the guys who are on the ground can provide. But I mean, that it's nice to hear that exists.
Well, we had a thing they called the quest of why. Now, there's a lot of soldiers come in young and all, and they always ask why. Well, okay, now you're not being constructive. You're just asking why to everything. Sometimes it's why because I told you so. I'm not going to sit down and explain everything, kind of like your kids. You do need to explain things to them sometimes. Sometimes it's because I said so. So in the military, if people come and say, "Hey, sir, I'm going to do it, but I don't understand it. Have you thought about these things, and these are the impact?" That's great. But if you're saying why, what we would do, we say, "Okay, put on your full MOP gear," which is your chemical warfare gear, and we're taking around base all day long, telling them to ask every sergeant they see why. And every time they'd ask, and they make them do like 20 push-ups. It's like, hey, you got to get out of your system. You can't ask why to everything. You can say, "Can you help me understand?" Or, "Hey, I've done it, Sergeant. I didn't agree with it. I've done it. Now can you explain to me why we did it?" Okay, cool. Because sometimes you got to go complete the mission and come back and get an understanding. But that takes leadership, being willing to do that, because you got people in the military like anywhere else. You're going to do it because I outrank you and just do what I tell you to and shut up. Well, okay, we'll work through that a different way. But yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something. I'm curious to get your opinion on this. I heard another veteran one time say that he felt like everybody should serve some type of time in the military, whether it's the 2 or 4. Is 2 years even a thing? I feel like that's the thing. Is 2 years?
No, I think 3 years now. I mean, it may be, but I think 3 years. But you got reserves and National Guard and stuff like that. So. Yeah.
So this guy's philosophy was that he thought that everybody should serve like a minimum of 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it was. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, because I see where he was going with that. Maybe he wants everybody to have discipline or whatever it is. But the way I see that, man, if it's a job like the military and somebody doesn't truly want to be there, I don't want that person beside me, So I'm just
no. That's a good point. I think that I'm all for. I wished everybody would choose patriotism to want to serve the military. Right. However, the more people you get in it that don't want to be in it, the more diluted I think it would become. So, but I think a lot of people don't understand that the Department of Defense, which is made up of the 6 branches now, it's also a corporation. I mean, you've got, you got headquarters, you got, HR, you got admin, you got payroll, you got finance, you got mechanics, you got every genre, plumber, ship repair people, everything. So it's every trade you could possibly imagine being in the military. I think that if you're not going to college out of high school and you don't have a trade of some sort, that it would be great to join the military. Mm-hmm. However, once you start mandating it, I think you start looking at socialism, and stuff like that, because now you're taking away everybody's free will to make their own choices on what they want to do.
Yeah.
And you start controlling everybody. Now, what I love to see everybody do, I got 3 daughters. Now I'm like, if I had 3 sons, I'd probably be more, okay, you need to go to the military. 3 daughters is like, I don't know if I want you to go. If you win, I'd support you. I'd love you to death. But, I mean, luckily they're going to get college degrees, be good to go. And if they chose to serve as an officer, that's great, because you also worry about their financial, moving forward. But as far as mandatory, while I think it would benefit a lot of people that need it, I think it would just be wrong. I think it would be going like China and all these other countries that make that happen. I just think, well, that one boy band out of Taiwan or Japan that they just had to broke up to go do their 2 years worth of service, and they were excited to do it. They were saying it's part of their duty to their country and all that. I just think when it becomes a requirement, it just dilutes it. Now all of a sudden, there wouldn't be a distinction. I mean, why would you celebrate Veterans Day when it's mandatory you become a veteran?
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of weird then.
Yeah. Like you said, the people who do make that sacrifice and know what and it's like they want to do that, or they feel called to do it, or whatever it is. I didn't really think about that until you said it, but I think that makes sense. And it's almost like I won't say it's disrespectful, but it's almost like it takes away some of that honor from people who do voluntarily choose that,
I can remember being in and being deployed and getting ready to deploy, and some National Guard or reserve units get called up, and have friends that were in them, and they're like, yeah, I'm just getting out. I'm not going to go. I only joined for my free education. And it would just make our blood boil. We're like, wait a second. You've got to sit around for 6 years doing nothing. You go to your little weekend duty, your 2 weeks, which is very valuable time, and it's great support. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of the ones that make fun of people doing that. But what irritated me when it was time to get called up, they're like, well, I can't go do that. I'm not willing to do that. Well, wait a second. You took all those other benefits. Now it's time to go do what you signed up to do and live out your commitment. And you're like, oh, never mind, I'm out. I've always said, when you join the military, you lose your rights. You are a property of the government.
That's a big
you sign that up, and you know it.
Yeah.
All these people like, well, I don't like this, and I want no. You don't have those rights. You don't get to go protest. You don't get to have political sides. You can vote, do what you want to do, but when you go swear that oath, you're swearing to the president of your country and the president of the United States, your commander in chief. Whether you're a Republican, Democrat, you go do what's directed. And if you don't like it, you worry about voting, but you don't get to protest that while you're in the military. I hate seeing what soldiers and all that are doing now, picking political sides at all levels, and they're using the military as a political chess piece, and I hate it. It makes me so angry. So,
let me pick on myself here for a minute.
All right.
I don't know, man. It's weird with me because I feel like I'm a very disciplined, motivated person. I feel like I'm very driven to do certain things, but I'm also like a very independent person. And I feel like the structure of the military would not benefit, not benefits, not the right word, would not be the place for me. So a person that's like me, like I'm trying to figure this out in my head right here. I don't know, like, I guess I'm just trying to figure it out because I see myself as a disciplined person, a motivated person, but at the same time, this what it boils down to is I don't necessarily want to be told what to do. So
I think that's the big misconception. I think that people see movies, see TV shows, and someone's always telling someone what to do.
Mm-hmm.
When we were not deployed, and even when we were deployed, I had a job. That was my job. When I was deployed, I did a year in Bosnia. When I was deployed there, my job was to work from 8 at night until 8 in the morning, running the comm shelter and managing and make sure everything happened. I didn't get called on to go do other stuff. I wasn't being bossed around. I had a job. I had a manual to follow. I had stuff I had to be responsible for. I had maintenance I had to do. It was a job. I mean, I think people lose that. During training, you get, hey, you need to learn how to shoot your weapon. You got to learn how to run. You got to learn how to do push-ups, sit-ups, and all the other stuff. You got to exercise, be marched to class. You got to get learning. But you're also going in 18 to 25-year-olds going through the same training together. So I went in at 22 because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for the first couple of years, decided to go in. But I'm in there with 18-year-olds straight out of high school, and I've already, been married a year or so. So I think those things are different. But you go in with your basic training, 8, 9, 10 weeks, depending on what branch you join. You do all that where people are telling you what to do, how to wear your uniform. They're teaching you how to be a soldier or an airman or marine or seaman. So once they teach you how to do all that, then they send you to school for however long. Like my school was 6 months in Fort Gordon, Augusta. Well, every day I'd get up to do PT, which is you need to be in a little bit of shape, which I wish I still was. But, you go do your PT, and then you may have a couple of details you got to go do. Other than that, you're going to class all day learning. And then, or night, depending on your class, or you come back sleeping, doing it all over again. Your weekends, you were off. And then when you go to your permanent duty station, like my first duty station in Fort Bliss, Texas, my equipment hadn't shown up, so I was working in an orderly room where we had soldiers transitioning in and out of new jobs where we were training them how to do the missile systems, even though I wasn't a missile guy. But I'd go in there and I'd make sure they had everything they needed. I did PT 6:30 of a morning with the whole unit, and after that, I worked a 9 to 5 job, and I was home with my wife and living off base, enjoying life just like a regular job. It's just when I got up to go to work, I put a uniform on and go on base. It wasn't like you walk around people just bossing you around all day long. You had a job that had, statements of work, your SOPs, everything, and you just did it every day, Now I'm sure if you're infantry and you're training and you're jumping out of planes, that's your job. So people are telling you how to do it, but they're not trying to stress you and do that, because think about it. Do you really want someone on edge all the time that's going to carry a weapon and jump out of a plane?
Yeah.
You want to teach them how to do their job and give them as much practice and training as possible. The first few months is just training people how to take orders when it's time to take them. But other than that, you're really working a job. Even when you're deployed, what's your job? If it's clearing houses, you go kick the door in. They're not bossing behind you, yelling at you. They're saying, okay, that's your job. You take lead. Let's go. If you're setting up communication shelters, you're doing satellite feeds, you're programming the switches, like working. There was no difference when I worked in my telecom shelters in the military than I worked in the switches with AT&T. Keep the links up, keep the circuits running, make sure the end users can communicate. Now, it was a little bit more important of a mission, but it was still my job. And, you just don't get paid overtime. If you work 8 hours, 10 hours, or 2 hours, you get paid the same amount of money. So you just kind of did your job. I think that's what a lot of people think, that it's just in the movies where everybody's marching all the time and people are just yelling at them. No, that's you do some of that, but that's not what it is. It's you get a job. They're training you. You take a test, so it tells you what job classes you can apply for, and you apply for that job and get trained how to do it and given every resource to be successful at it.
Yeah. You mentioned something about stress. Most of the veterans I've known, they're very stress resilient people. I mean, it's not like most of these people don't really get stressed out over, minor things. And I've met a couple special forces guys over the years just through business and doing stuff. And those guys are they're always present. Like I was doing a job for a guy one time, and back at this time we were building fences. Long story short, something happened. I can't remember what happened. Something happened that kind of held the job up. And I'll never forget what this guy said. He said, I've been in situations before where you should stress, and this isn't one of them.
Right.
Now, he said that, and if I were to go to anybody else during that time, the job before, the job after, a couple jobs, whatever, a civilian would have reacted much differently to that.
I think you have the mentality especially any soldiers ever deployed, whether it's a minor or major deployment, when you come back to civilian living, while there are things that are very important, 90% of the things we do are not life and death. Like that fence. I mean, okay, if you don't have the fence until tomorrow, is someone going to die? No. Okay, then it's not that stressful. Do I want it? Will it look pretty? Yeah, but if it's there tomorrow, what's 24 hours? No one's dying.
Yep.
So,
and that's got to be what it is, man.
Absolutely.
I didn't ask any questions. This guy gave some details. I think it was something. He did something, believe it or not, he did something related with explosives. That's all I know.
Right, yeah. So
I would imagine that's completely different from what we're doing here.
Yeah. Not searching for landmines or trying to make sure you kick the door in and someone's going to shoot you. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing that I've really kind of admired about a lot of veterans that I've met. It's just I don't know how else to say it other than, I've met something that's pretty wild. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are just like calm people. It's just calm, collected. And I guess maybe that's a skill that's learned over the years. There's got to be, I would imagine people that go into the military are mostly conscientious people. As far as, I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a psychology acronym, OCEAN. There's 5 traits: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. I think that's the 5. That's 5 psychological traits. And conscientious people, they're hardworking people. They're the kind of people that, like you said, they have a job to do, they have a mission to do, they go and get it done.
Now remember, if that missions go out party of a night, it's just as hard and just as much fun too. So
yeah. Yeah, I would imagine, man, if you got, 18, 19, 20-year-olds and they go, I guess at that point they probably live on base at that point. But
most of the time, yep.
But I mean, what is the difference in that, other than having the structure and the orders? Is there really that much difference between that and a college dorm?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Except for they have to buff the floors and all that in the hallways and stuff themselves. They don't pay no one to do that for them.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard now, and I've been out a little while, so I've heard now living in the barracks is what we call them, but it's like living in like nice dorm rooms in colleges now. They got, 2 people sharing one bathroom and stuff like that. Whenever I was in training, you in barracks, you had, 60 people in an open bay with 10 bathrooms at the end, during basic. And then after that, when you're in training, you have like 4 or 5 people in a room and 2 or 3 bathrooms at the end of the hallway. So, yeah, I think they keep elevating the quality of living, which is good. Because, I mean, that takes a little bit less stress, a little bit of individualism, because a lot of people think you lose your individualism when you're in the military. No, you kind of gain it more because you kind of learn who you are.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That's probably what I would have thought, that you lose that sort of that individualism. That's what I would have definitely thought that.
I mean, you learn how to become a better team player and a teammate, but I think it really defines who you are and what you're going to be. I mean, I think, if you're going to do 4 years, you got to do something, you're prepared. If you say, hey, I found my home, I'm going to do 20, 30 years and retire, it helps you figure out who you are and what's best for you.
If you had to say that was like the best lesson that you probably took from the service in the military, if you had to say what that was, and we can come back to this if you don't have anything off the top of your head.
Wow.
I'm curious.
I think the best lesson, I mean, communication lesson in life, I think, but I think teamwork is real. I think that, a team of people can accomplish anything. And I think the diversity and what you bring in the inclusion, and I said this in one of the interviews I did for a news station during Veterans Day, is why did you like what you did? I've got people that I served with the same job. One guy was from Tampa, Florida. One guy was from Redding, California. We had one guy that was from Nebraska. And, we had, and one of our leaders was from St. Louis. We had colored people, people from Puerto Rico, from one of our territories. We had Democrats, we had Republicans, we had atheists, all within this group. Everybody covered almost everything. But to this day, if one of them called me up and said, hey, Don, well, they'd say, hey, Nugent, yeah, I'd be, what's up? He'd say, hey, can I borrow $1,000? I'd mail it to him. I wouldn't even ask what he wanted it for, because you learn that trust, to know that when you're doing something, that trust and teamwork, they got your back. No matter what it is, they're there for you. And teaching someone how to trust and how to be a teammate, that's the hardest lesson in life. You can to truly trust and truly be a teammate. You can work at a regular job where I've got a great team I work with now, and I trust what they do. But if they call and ask me for money, I'd be like, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
Because, we haven't seen the same things. When you sleep in a tent for a year, when you haven't showered for, 6 weeks, and you're using baby wipes that someone mailed somebody to get clean, you see who people really are. You see that all that facade they use around everybody else is gone. You're a bunch of soldiers. I mean, it's a cliche where it says, hey, in the military, color don't matter. It's all green. It don't matter how educated you are, how stupid you are, where you're from, what language you speak. As long as you can speak English and communicate a little bit, none of that matters, because you're sitting in a foxhole or you're sitting in a shelter in the middle of a foreign country doing something. You got to trust, and you got to be able to work as a team.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's amazing, man, that kind of stuff can disappear. Race, religion,
Quit.
Whatever political side you're on. I mean, it's amazing to me that stuff disappears in that kind of situation. And it's like, I guess if anybody knows diversity, it would be people in the military, because they're going all over the place. There's people from everywhere, all over. And I like to see that. I wish we had more of that in the civilian world. I wish we were able to look at who a person is and not what the person believes, because I think there's a lot of things that we dismiss about a person because of their beliefs or, their philosophies or whatever it is.
I was reading an article, and it's been probably about almost a year ago now, that COVID had helped address some of that, because people are on Teams so much and they're on WebExes and they're not using the camera because of bandwidth. So they're just talking to unknown faces. And now, while I think it's bad for camaraderie because people need to see each other and need to work with each other, some of that was done away with because you didn't know who you were talking to. If it's a if it's a white guy, a Chinese guy, a black guy, you didn't know any of that. You just knew it was someone you're talking to get work done.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You didn't know. And I thought that was kind of neat. You don't know what's in their background. You don't know their hit. You're saying, okay, I had to call this group to get something done, and we just did it. That's all it was. Because I think people have those biases, and unfortunately, they said that kind of took away some of the drama of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that happened in the beginning of COVID, and it definitely probably happened in the places like hospitals and medical facilities and stuff like that. But look at what also happened during COVID, man. It didn't take long for the whole thing to become political, Oh,
absolutely.
And it's just like we had something like that going on, and people still wanted to play politics with it. I don't know, man. I just wish that.
No, I think you should really be scared that in a matter of 48 hours to a week, you went from living your life to being locked down wearing a mask that quick.
Yep.
Without any good reason. There was no data. There was no factual information. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I can't say that it was right or wrong. I'm just saying I disagree with it personally, just because everybody has immune systems. Everybody go through stuff. And yes, everybody was impacted, and it was real. I got family who lives in England, all that stuff. So it was real. Not saying it wasn't. But look at how many people now are getting sicker now because their immune systems are so shot. There's kids going to schools now they didn't do pre-K, they didn't do daycares. Now they're going to kindergarten, first grade, and they're sick all the time because their immune systems haven't been built up like before. So I think it's just
not
terrible.
Just the immune system, man. There was like people were almost starved of that human interaction. Like think
Absolutely.
about the mental health that deteriorated during that time, because people need that. We're social creatures. We need that interaction with other people. I'll say this. Somehow during that whole 2-year period, I managed to not have COVID, not once.
You and me both. I think we're tracking.
Yeah, I had a respiratory infection a couple times during that time, but the way I saw it was I'm like you. I didn't necessarily agree with the mask thing, but it's almost like I was trying to go out in public and expose myself because I wanted my body to be able to adapt to whatever viruses it was going to interact with in the real world. Because I feel like I feel like I feel like our immune system needs practice in order to stay strong. Just like any other muscle in the body, you need to use it for it to be useful.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, man. Washing hands. First of all, we had to teach people to wash hands.
Which is bad.
That's the main thing right there. We had to remind people, hey, this is how you wash your hands. This is what you need to do. But it's like, I don't know.
I would love to have been the guy that created the signs to put on all the windows and doors and floors because, they made millions going around, selling signs 6 feet each way and all that. So it's just,
No, I don't know, man. I just feel like, and then people, too, people had children and deaths and things that were really affected as far as they couldn't be there or whatever during that time. There was a lot going on, man. But like I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I just, you can read what you can read and you pretty much know,
I think it's more of an experiment in how soon we can change the society and make things do what the government wants them to do. I think that's where people ought to be scared.
Well, I was really surprised how many people, I guess maybe got on board that you would never hear. They would always say that they wouldn't do anything like that, and people just, I don't know. But I guess fear is a big motivator.
Yep. I agree. Yeah.
I know you probably got to get going here in a minute. I got to go here shortly. Do you want to do like a promotion for your business or
absolutely. No, I appreciate that. I'm of course, as you know, I own JDog Columbia, which we do junk removal and hauling, and we also do carpet cleaning and floor care. So we're a veteran-owned business. You have to be a veteran to be one of our franchisees. We are the largest veteran-owned franchise in the United States. There's no more veteran companies that have more locations than JDog nationwide. We focus on veteran unemployment. Our goal as a company is to help facilitate getting down to less than 1% unemployment for veterans by doing, not by hiring them all ourselves, of course, we'd never be able to do that, but also by showing other small businesses, other companies, the value of using veterans in their facilities and their locations on the mission essential and how they do stuff and all that. We show up our uniforms, we show up, respectful, yes ma'am, no, yes sir, all that kind of stuff. I think those things go a long way. So that's how we're going to help other companies want to go hire veterans. And then the carpet cleaning and floor care, which is part of that too. We just started out and we can, same mentality. We come in and set up, take care of people's equipment, take care of their household goods and all that. So we utilize both of those things to help, like I said, with unemployment, but also to bring awareness to veteran suicide. Because, veteran active duty members, there's 22 a day that kill themselves and commit suicide for one reason or another. So our goal is to bring as much awareness as possible to that. And through our owner, we have a JDog Foundation where they take that kind of money that they raise and all that, and they put it back towards helping those communities. So one of the things we're doing here at JDog Columbia is we're looking to partner with any kind of local veteran organizations. As we get supplies and all that we get from our jobs, we want to be able to help veterans that are reintroducing themselves back into whatever situation they've been in and coming out of that by donating furniture, donating whatever we're picking up, cleaning up, being able to repurpose. We also look to anything that we get that we may have to resell that we can't donate somewhere. We give all those proceeds to veterans' homes or whatever, and if we can't find a good veteran opportunity, we'll give them to like Sisters Care, different things like that we're trying to work with and partner with. So we are looking at any time to find those veteran organizations to partner with and have events and all that and help support that and bring awareness to veterans and the things they deal with. So, but that's kind of where we're at with that. So.
Do you guys have like a company website or a company phone
Absolutely.
number?
If you go to JDog.com, it'll take you and you can decide between carpeting or junk removal and hauling. Our phone number to get in touch with us locally is 803-866-5005. And if you mention this that you got from here, we'll give you a 10% discount. All veterans and first responders automatically get 10% off. You don't have to ask for it. If we know it, we're going to automatically apply it.
Okay. Now, when you say junk, would this be like, would you guys do like hazardous junk? Like if somebody just has like, antifreeze, a bucket of antifreeze or something?
No, the only thing we do not do paint or chemicals. However, we will have solutions on how you can get rid of those. Sometimes if you got a bucket of paint, we'll bring some cat litter, put it in there to absorb it all up and then dispose of it for you. But if you have like 20, 30 gallons of paint, we'll tell you the best way to get rid of that. Because one thing is we can find a way, but we also don't want to gouge people on what it would cost for us to get rid of them for it, because a lot of times as a residential, if you got paint, you can take it to your local dump shops and they'll take it free. And you're like, especially like Kershaw County, you can go to those transfer stations and they'll take it for you. So, but like that, there's a few items that the landfill charges, more money, like mattresses and TVs that, they have an upcharge on that and on tires. But other than that, we can take anything away, but we don't take food away because that's what your Herbie Kirby service is for. Your side roads, they take care of that because the dumps, they do have a pretty big penalty on if we had food and all that in our items. But the one big thing about JDog, our goal, is to keep 60 to 80%. We're right now probably tracking about 65% from Columbia, but our goal is to get up to 80 of everything out of the landfill, whether that's recycling it, donating it, repurposing it, whatever we can do with it. Because there's no sense putting in a landfill, just do it. And that's where we kind of stand out against our competition. We're not just trying to load the truck and empty it. We're trying to load the truck, repurpose it, recycle it, and do something with it, and then go to the next job. Where a lot of other ones are just trying to come get your stuff, dump it, so then go get the next load. We're trying to be that long-term solution, not that quick fix.
Yeah, man, I hate going to a landfill. I just, and it's not even because of the debris, driving over the debris. It's just like it's a sad sight to me to see.
And you see good stuff in there. You see stuff that someone else could have used in there.
Well, yeah, you do, but you also see stuff that's never going to break down. I mean, it's going to be there for years. If somebody were to go dig up these landfills, man, it's like it's useful. It's useless soil that's there. I mean, it's like that stuff's going to be there for years.
Yep.
Okay, so one other thing before we get off of here, if somebody was like debating on like the military or having a business or like college, if somebody was like that 18, 20, 19, 20, because I was in that place. I started my business, the business I have now, I started when I was 20 years old. And I remember a couple of years leading up to that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do, which was essentially just punch a clock. That just wasn't for me. So if somebody was in that position, young guy, young girl, and they were trying to look for, trying to decide what they wanted to do, what do you think would be a word of advice, that you would kind of maybe give somebody, maybe just like to your younger self that you would say?
No, fair enough. If I could have went back, I probably would have went in straight out of high school.
Okay.
Because I tried the college route, trying to figure out how to afford it and all that before that, and college wasn't for me to begin with. I think college is great. I got 3 daughters that are going to college, and they're doing wonderful, and I'm excited for them, and it's great. However, if you don't know what you want to do and you're not ready for it, don't spend money on it. Because a lot of college degrees aren't training you to do anything. They're just giving you a piece of paper saying this is the skills to go learn a job. If you know what you want to do, that's different. But if you don't, the military has every trade there is. They will train you how to do it. And then they will send you to school to be certified to do it. And then they will help you find a job when you get out on doing it in the civilian world. And on top of that, if you want to start a business once you get out, they'll turn around and have the resources to help you with the Small Business Administration, everything else, to get set up successfully and correctly. So if you don't know what you're doing, the military is a great solution because they'll prepare you for when you get out. But it's like anything else. You got to take advantage of what they have to offer. You can get out and never go sit in those meetings, those debriefings, and do nothing. Or you can take advantage of everything they have when you get out and utilize all the stuff they have. But if you're just undecided, like I told my kids, hey, you can go to the military, you can go to college, you can find an internship somewhere, you can find an apprenticeship, you can start your own little side bit, you're just not going to sit at home. You're going to do something. Yep. And I had one daughter went and taught the military and all that as she was getting ready to get out of college because she wasn't sure. She decided against it, got her master's, and is doing something very successful now. However, that was an option on the table. So if you don't know what you want, don't go spend money on something you're not sure what you want. I mean, I think a college experience is fun. I think it's great if you can handle it and do all that. But where are you going to be 4 years after you get that degree? The military, I guarantee you do 4 years in the military, you're getting out with a degree. It may not be a college degree, but you're getting out with some skill set that you can utilize and you can move forward with. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be a better person. Even if you're not a bad person, you'll be an even better person. And the pride you have when you return from a deployment, when you return from a mission, whatever, is a pride that you can never, ever get from anything else. I'm 50 years old, returning from my 2 deployments, and the way they receive you when you come back, you cannot replace that because you went and did something that mattered not just to yourself or your family. It doesn't matter to the world.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I like the way you word that because I think a lot of people get so hyper fixated on a certain thing. But it's like if you can make a change, if you can change something around you, if you can change something simple around you, just make that change, man. It doesn't have to be a big huge thing. If you see something that needs to be done, and the world would be a better place because of that, if you just do that, I think that's part of your journey of self improvement. And that's
you don't need
also
the military to do that. You can do it like you did. It's 20 years old, starting your own business. If you're 18 years old, graduating high school, and you've got a little lawn care business or pressure washing, whatever you're doing, grow it. Put everything you got into it. Well, I think it's that mentality.
Yeah, I'll say this, man. If you're 18, 19 years old today and you have the work ethic to go start a business, you're already way ahead.
Way ahead.
People these days, it's just like a lot of people don't want to work. I mean,
nobody wants to work.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I don't know why. I have no idea why. But if you have that work ethic, if you have that energy to put into something, man, you capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Because no one else is doing it, and you'll get more business and respect from everybody else because they see you as a young person doing it.
And this is the biggest thing that I always say. Even if it fails, like you said about the experiences with the deployments, if you start a business, if you do something, if it doesn't work out, the experience that you have from that will make you a better person, and you can take that with you the rest of your life. I don't want to say like, well, it's the failures are the stepping stones that we need to get to success.
For success, absolutely.
And if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't have the outcome that you think it would have, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but at the same time, like, you are a better person because of that. I mean, I can't think of.
I was listening yesterday. Me and my wife were watching something on Peyton Manning, just for example. Now, I'm a Georgia guy. That's where I went to college after the military. I got my degree from. Anyway, her family grew up in Tennessee, so we watch all this crap all the time on TV. And they asked him about coming back to Tennessee his senior year. And his comment was, he goes, I don't want to be a 50-year-old man sitting around going, what if I would have never attempted that? What if I wouldn't have came back? And I think it's like a small business. Do you want to sit around 50 seeing the next guy doing something? You say, man, I thought about that when I was 18 or 20, and I just didn't do it because I didn't put myself into it or whatever. Or do you want to say, hey, I don't know how that guy made it succeed. I failed, but I'm glad I did it because that's how I got this.
Yeah.
So
well, that's another thing, too, is a lot of people, they think that people have talents or abilities that they don't have. And the thing is, man, like, the people that we admire that are doing these things, they're just normal people, you know? Yeah. I mean, every once in a while you might have somebody like Elon Musk who's just like an anomaly, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like people are just people, and they're doing things that we feel like we can't do or don't have the talents or the discipline or whatever. And I think it's okay to admire people, but when we say that person does something that we can't do, I think that's dangerous because it puts them on a pedestal. And it's like for some reason we feel like we can't achieve that or do that. And they're just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. You know?
No, I agree with you 100%. Absolutely.
So anyways, but man, listen, I'm going to let you get off of here. I know you got things to do. I gotta run out too. Don't close out just yet.
Okay.
Let me stop this. Let me close this out and stop this recording. Just hang out just for a second. I got to explain to you about this upload. But yeah, I appreciate it, man.
No, I enjoyed it.